just going to run through it kind of, not like, I'm going to quasi-present to you. So if you want to just watch how it goes, I'll get through this. If you want to take some notes on it, fine. I don't have a script yet. I know someone over here said, can I put a script here? And it's her birthday. So for her birthday, she would like me to write a script to this. So basically, we get to the house, right? We greet them, we go to the kitchen table, we sit them down, we explain to them, or we break the ice, we do any of our disclosures that are necessary, and then we simply ask the question, can I explain to you how it works? They say yes, we go into our agenda. The first thing I want to do is understand your needs. And we'll just call Ms. Smith again. Mr. Smith, we're asking you a series of questions just to find out what your challenges and needs are in real estate. After that, we're going to go into Nothnagle's marketing program. This is how we get houses sold and closed in today's market. After that, we'll get up and we're going to preview the house. At this point, I really need you to point out all the important features and benefits to me so I can appreciate your home as much as you do. Then, we should be in the position to come back and go through pricing strategies. Basically, how the market is looking at your property and how we can position it to maximize value. Then we'll have enough information to make a mutual decision. If you like what I share with you, all you have to do is tell me yes, I'll go to work for you. But if you have any problem whatsoever, please just tell me no, and I'll get out of here. Is that fair enough?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. So first, understanding your needs. And so we'd ask the questions. Boom, boom, boom. Why are you moving? Where are you moving? When would you like it to be sold and closed? Big important that you say sold and closed to get that. Because that sets up the next question is, so what's driving the deadline for that close date? And then, what are you looking for? Or what's the most important thing that you're looking for in an agent and company that you hire? And what would it take for you to feel that I have meeting or met that expectation? So, I get through these questions. Let me throw a second question at you, or a follow-up question that I ask from a presentation standpoint. I will look at the tax records, deeds, whatever you look at. We do tax records in Orlando. And I can look at the tax records and see when the purchase date was. So I know you've been in the house for 12 years. So I might say that. I see that you guys purchased this home 12 years ago. Have you been in this one home for 12 years? And they say yes. Here's my follow-up question. If they're in a house 3 or more years, this is just my personal feelings, I ask this follow-up question. Have you bought or sold any other property in this time? I ask that because I'm looking for experience about real estate. If I go to someone's house and they've been there 30 years, I will assume it's been 30 years since they've done a transaction, and I will present a certain way. But if I ask if you bought or sold any real estate since then, the person goes, oh yeah, I work for Shell Oil, I do transactions every day, I'm their property litigator, so I'm always buying and selling property. Okay, well I'm going to present now differently to that person than I would a person, nope, we bought this house 30 years ago and we've done nothing since then. Does that make sense? So for me, I always look at that, and I might add another question in here about the length of time. Okay? Once I get through the questions, and I go, first thing on our agenda, our next thing on our agenda is our marketing program. So I'd like to share with you our marketing program. And the first thing I want to get into is actually the 5 key things that it takes to sell a house. The first one is the price of the home. Now this is the price that we're going to put your home out to the market, to the offering out to the market. At the end of the day, who is going to determine the price of your home when it's put out for sale? And they'll say, we are. If they don't say it, I'll say you or me, and they'll go, well, we are. So you're basically responsible for coming up with a price that fits this market. Now I'm going to consult with you, I'm going to give you information, and I'm going to educate you on what the market's looking for, but ultimately it's your responsibility to set the price. Second one is our terms. Now terms, I get into, terms are as complex as helping a buyer with their mortgage, and as simple as showing instructions, how people are going to get to see the house. Again, I'm going to educate you on what the terms of the marketplace, of what the marketplace is looking for when it comes to terms, but who is responsible, or who will be ultimately in charge of the terms being offered. I get them to take responsibility for that. The third one then is the condition of the property. Now the condition of the property is how the property was when the buyer walks through the door. Who's ultimately responsible for the condition? And then by this time they're kind of laughing at it, they're going, we are. I said, so out of 5 things it takes to sell a house, you're responsible for 3. Are you okay with that? And they're okay. Now the fourth thing that it takes to get a house sold is actually the location. But I want you to look at location not as where the house sits, but the desirability of that location. Now here's where a good question comes in. Why did you folks buy in this location? What drove you to live here? What might you hear from people? Schools, lifestyles, proximity to something. Well, let me ask you, if they've been there 25 years and they went there because it was a nice quiet street, it might not be a nice quiet street anymore. So I find out what was their driver for living there. And then I say, who in your opinion determines if this property is desirable or this location is desirable today? I get them to say the buyers. So basically all the buyers out there, as a herd, formulate what areas are desirable and which ones are not as desirable. Again, I will consult with you on that to show you what the market's showing for how desirable the area is based on the solds and the activity in the area. But in the end of the day, no one controls the desirability, so we have to monitor that. And then the last one is exposure. And exposure is my job. My job in the beginning of the transaction is to get you maximum exposure for your property, to where I take the price, terms, and condition that you have set with my help and give the exposure to everybody that wants or considers the location your home is in. Does that make sense? They say yes, I go to my next page. So, exposure is the most important element you should be focused on the front end of the transaction. Because before anything else matters, we have to get your house exposed. And here at Nothnagle, we've been on the cutting edge of exposure for a long time. It started back in 1948, and that will get into a short story on how Mr. Nothnagle created the first gallery of homes. And today that might seem quite elementary and low tech. In 1948, it was cutting edge. It was giving people the opportunity to get full exposure to the properties that were available in Rochester by coming to one place. And that hasn't changed in our company. We are still the leader in the cutting edge of giving exposure to sellers. Now, my clickers. Before I go to this page, just want you to see it, I would set it up somehow like this. Now, local exposure is incredibly important, but let me ask you a question. When you purchased your home here, did you only look in Webster? Well, no, we actually, where else would someone look? Penfield. So you also over in Penfield? Perry, yeah, right. Come on. I know Perry.
No, I know it's our marketplace. We just love
I know Perry. So you also look at Penfield, yes. Well, getting you local exposure isn't always about your house being for sale. Sometimes it's about other homes being for sale. Because someone looking for your home here in Webster might be in Penfield right now. And that's why doing business with Nothnagle and having this sign in your yard as one of the most recognized signs telling people that your home is for sale is important. Because while they're over in Penfield and they see a Nothnagle sign, they might pick up the phone and call them to get one of our real estate professionals that find out you don't want to be in Penfield, you actually want to be in Webster. And your house will actually sell because of a sign over in Penfield. Can you see how that might happen?
Yes.
Another way to get local exposure, now I would preach to this one after asking those questions, is making sure that the word is out in the local market. We have one of the greatest marketing departments in the world, and they, with my help, create fantastic marketing that I can use out in the forms of flyer on your property, brochures, postcards to the neighborhood letting them know that the home's available. We also work with email marketing, online brochures, and just a ton more things to make sure we saturate the local market so they're aware that your property is available. But that's not far enough for us. We also need to get maximum exposure in the local market to people that aren't going to drive by your house. Let me ask you this. Now, you can do this a couple ways. Over in our other class, someone role-played this one later in competition and said this: do you read the local paper? And I was being role-played with, and I told her, no, I don't. That put her in a position to then want to feature dump on this page. What's still very important, Now, the stat that was on this page that I took off is that 7 in 10 adults still go to the paper, through either the newspaper or the online paper to get their news. Now, that's a stat that I take as credible. It was footnoted on the sheet, so I would do it like this. If I did ask, John, do you read the paper and tell me no? What do you think then, if you're one of those that don't, and either am I, But what do you think the percentage of adults still go to the paper, either online or in print, to get their information?
Oh, I don't know, 20% maybe?
See, now we've got a conversation going because I asked the questions. Everybody with me? Got rid of the polyphasic thinking. And I say, well, it's actually 7 out of 10 adults still are using the paper, whether it's online or in print. And that's why we put our properties online and on print with the #1 traffic real estate paper. Now watch this. Does every single house get in there? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, now, that worries agents sometimes. Well, not every house is in there. Guys, you got to understand how people buy homes. Are you aware that 96% of the people that call on a house do not want or buy the home they call on? Are you aware of that stat? Let me ask you this. Taking calls from people, does it feel like 96% of the time they end up not buying the house they call on? Yes or no? Okay, so that means you then use your professionalism to take them to what? Another home. So, one thing I want you to understand, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, is it's not about whether or not your home is actually in there. It's whether or not we have homes in your price range in there. Because statistically, from Harvard Publishing, which is the #1 publisher of real estate, 96% of the people that call on an ad don't like or buy the home they call on. But it gives the company the opportunity to move them to the home they want. So whether your home is being advertised or someone else's, as long as it's within the price range that you're in, your home is getting exposure. Does that make sense? Does that help you guys a little bit?
Yeah.
Now you don't have to be afraid that the home's not always there. As long as your company has homes there, the phone's ringing. If the phone's ringing, SWATs are taking care of it and bringing people to where they want to be. Now, your television thing, I think you can set that up a lot of ways. I might ask, so outside of the internet and outside of print and brochures, is there any other media that you would like to have your house exposed on? And again, they bring up television. Now, the same theory works on the television. If they call on a house that's in the price range, they could end up buying your home. So if you're not someone that gets everybody's home on that TV because of the cost, don't walk away from using this. Use it to say, I'm giving you broader exposure by getting people to call because there's homes in the area or in the price range that are always running each week, so they're making the phone ring. Okay? If you're going to get their house on there, even better. But I don't like whenever we get afraid of things because their house isn't there. And off my role play real quick, another little thought in your head. When I've had people say, Dan, I want my house out there. So what do I have to do to make sure my house is the one out there? I go, do you really want your house out there? To be the one in print? And they go, well, yeah. I go, so do you disbelieve what I'm telling you about people don't really like the house they find, they end up buying another house? Well, no, but isn't it better to have my house out there? Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever called on an ad or an online thing and the house that you called on just wasn't what you were looking for? I mean, I'm sure you've started to look already. And most people will say, well, yeah. Here's the problem. If your house wasn't selling in today's market, and you're a seller, you would usually want the agent to do what? More or less advertising. If your house wasn't selling for a reason, and the agent did more advertising, would you want them to write a description that really, really made it sound great? Or just kind of an average description? What would you want? So at the end of the day, what happens with buyers out there is they start to realize that the homes that are advertised over and over again, there's a what? There's a problem. I don't think that over-advertising is an effective way to get your house sold. I actually think it will hurt you. Because the market will start to wonder, what's wrong? Why do you have to keep pushing this house? Does that make sense? So we have the right amount of marketing, maximizing exposure in your local area and your price range, but not overexposing your property for people to say, why are you pushing that house so hard? Does that make sense? Now, some people go, I don't believe that. Fine, don't believe it. But it's true, because when they become a buyer, they'll go find something. That's why I always ask, have you been looking at stuff? How many buyers do you have find something that doesn't fit their needs, or something wrong with it, or it was no longer available? How often does that happen? So that's what we're telling the market when we over-advertise things. So I try to get sellers. I've had many, many sellers go, okay, well, as long as it sells, I'm okay with your plan. But then I get to roll into, after the TV, I brought this back in. And your for sale line, I'm learning more and more about it. You guys use that number in many sources, correct? So they might see it online, brochure, drive by, a lot of different ways. Okay, I was only thinking it was on the sign. So to ask a question here, I might get into again asking, have you ever wanted information immediately and you just weren't able to get it? Or have you ever called a number to get information to find out that you had to leave a message and wait for someone to get back to you? Has that ever happened? How did it make you feel? Frustrated, whatever. Well, that's why we have our for sale line. Our for sale line, and by the way, someone in the other class, someone might want to do this when we get to the presentation, actually had me role play with me and had me dial the number in the role play, listen to it, and go, is that the kind of instant response you would like your property to have when someone's interested in it? It was very effective. So I would do something like that, maybe interact and play with the phone or have them dial a number so they can see how it works. So that is our local exposure. But now we want to talk about maximizing value for it. Let's say you're looking at homes. We're done here in Webster. We're now over in Buffalo looking for your new home. You find two houses, similar in condition, style, price, but one's offering you a warranty, one is not. Are you someone that would be most likely wanting a warranty? Or someone that likes to go it alone without the warranty? What type of person are you? And they'll tell me. Some will say warranty, and I'll ask why. Well, if something breaks, I don't want to reinvest. If someone says not the warranty, I ask why. I've never been able to ask enough questions that it didn't boil down to this. People will buy or not buy the warranty to either save money or save money. I'll save money because if something breaks, I'm covered. I'll save money because if you don't offer a warranty, I'll cut your price and take the risk. So I get them to admit that the warranty would cause somebody to have a value proposition less than the best if it wasn't offered. And then I'll come back and say, well, that's why at Nothnagle, we actually use our warranty as a marketing tool. Because we know that people will naturally lower your price if they feel that they're not going to be covered. Many agents use a warranty as an afterthought. If it comes up, they'll offer it. So here's the problem with that afterthought. The buyer's already formulated their offer, thinking the warranty wasn't there. We use it as a marketing tool to get you a higher price and a faster sale. Our warranty company has the statistics showing that when used properly, homes sell 23 days faster and for 4% more money than homes without warranty. So let me ask you, would you like to get the benefit of a faster sale and a higher price by using warranty? And they say yes to it. And then I go, and there's one special bonus for you about this warranty. First, you don't have to pay for it until the house closes. And during the marketing of the home, you're covered. So you can stop worrying about investing in your property. Should we go forward with the warranty? We can close there. But now, my next page, I got to know that I'm going into worldwide, so I'll say this. But that's only catching the local market. We also have to pay attention to beyond the borders. Let me ask you a question. Who would you prefer actually buy from? Somebody locally here in Rochester or somebody coming from out of town? And they always come out of town. And then I go, so let me ask you this way. Are you looking for a buyer that will, one, tag or less, and they'll say what? Move quickly and make a decision, and have a smooth transaction because they're ready to go and can close? They say yes always to those three things. Then I ask it again. Which buyer do you think will bring you that type of transaction? Somebody local, time on their hands, knows the area, knows the marketplace, or somebody that is being brought to town or has to move to town? Which one? Never fails. They always say what? Get out of town. And I go, never forget that, because sometimes the best buyer you can have is the one that's coming beyond the borders. And if the company you choose to do business with can't reach beyond the borders, you miss out on the best buyer. Let me share with you how we do it. I get into our website, any portals that you want to talk about for how people can come in. But that's just the beginning of how we reach beyond the borders. The other way is through our affiliation with leading real estate companies of the world. With leading real estate companies of the world, it gives us a global network of real estate companies that are like-minded, where we can use our local expertise here in Rochester but have the global connections all over the world to bring the best buyers to the table. As you can see from this chart, this is an example of grouped real estate companies, brands, franchises, and then the leading RE. As you can see, we dominate the marketplace when it comes to real estate transactions. With over 500 firms, 3,500 offices in nearly 50 countries, we will make sure everybody's aware that your property is for sale. So that's the type of global exposure you would like to have for your home. Then, before I go to this one, I threw in your weekly report at the end here. Before I make the transition, I'll say this, because I've told you we're going to do a lot of things. But a lot of people say they're going to do a lot of stuff, and they just don't either perform or keep you informed. What are your feelings about being informed? Now, when I ask what's the most important thing to you and the company that you hire, the number one answer I get is communication. So this just works great. And I go, what would it take for you to feel I'm communicating with you properly? Well, I'd like to keep updated on what's going on. So if they said that in the beginning, I'll bring that back and say, remember when I asked you what's most important, you told me communication. Yes. How often would you like that communication? Now someone says, Dan, what do they say every day? Well, if they say every day, I needed to know that, didn't I? People are always worried about stuff. If I ask you, how often? You say every day, I got to work with her on that. Because if I don't ask her, her belief system doesn't change. I just leave the house doing a weekly follow-up, and she was expecting a what? Daily follow-up. So when I ask and she says daily, I'll go, oh, why? And then I'll coach her out of it. I'll go, do you think it's effective for a real estate agent to update every single person we're working with every single day? And she'll go, what do you mean? I go, well, let's say I have 10 clients. If I had to update 10 of you every single day, how much time would I have to sell your house? And then I get people look at me and go, oh, I hadn't thought about it like that. And I go, what would be, in your mind, a more effective time frame that you would still be comfortable with? And they go to a week. So I get that conversation going, and I say, well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep you informed with our weekly marketing report. And I would have a copy of when I would show them. This is going to tell you about the things that are happening in your market, your price range, your inquiries on your property, changes in the marketplace, houses are for sale, houses that have sold. It's going to keep you fully informed on what's happening in your marketplace when it comes to the sale of your house. Is that the type of thing you're looking for? Now when I get done there, I show them a page, if I didn't show it to them in hard copy, and then I go, do you have any other questions? And they go, no. And I go, well, I could close there depending on their personality, or I can go to this next slide, which is part of my agenda. This will work. Come on. Boom. I throw that slide in all the time, because now it's time to what? I can't mess this up, guys. I turn the page and it says preview the home. That was the next thing on the agenda. I go, now it's time to preview the home. I'm going to be looking at it with the buyer's eye, pointing out all the important features and benefits. And remember, looking at it with the buyer's eye, I'll probably be a little critical. I'm probably going to say something that embarrasses me, might even embarrass you, but I really think honesty is the best policy here. They go, oh God, please be honest with us. Or they go, look, we ain't invested in this house. I find out what person they are. We get up, we go look at the house. Take notes, point out things, we come back to the table. Next page says what? Pricing strategy. But now it's time to get into pricing strategy. Take out back, sold and expires. We go through, we highlight, we do our thing interactively, we come up with a price. If you use what's the other?
Absorption rate.
Thank you. If you use the absorption rate tool, use your absorption rate tool then. After you've done your pricing, bring out the absorption rate tool, show them what will happen. However, you can be effective in pricing strategy. I want you to be effective, but remember Galileo, it's got to be. Then, when I'm done with this, we are done now. After pricing strategy, it was time to make a what? So, if I want the property, I will do something like this. Well, Ms. Smith, I'm really comfortable with the price terms and conditions we've come up with, confident we can get the house sold. So if you're looking for a faster sale, more money in your pocket with less hassle, let's get started.
What if you say to these at the end and you realize you don't want this house?
Okay, if you get to the end, guys, this is a SWAT thing too. You get to the end and I'm here and I don't want the house, I want you to fall into your bad habits. Well, guys, there's the price. What do you think? I'm sure you want some time to mull this over. And they'll go, yes, let us. I'll go, great. I'll follow up with you in a year. No, I just call them my old habits where they start saying, well, I want to think about it. I'm like, okay, great. And I leave. Now, the problem is, if you were SWAT all the way up to the end, they want you. And it's all wrong, and you don't want them, and the price is ridiculous, the condition's terrible. And then they go, so how do we get started? And you go, well, I'm sorry, but at this point, I'm not going to be able to represent you to sell your house. Why? Because, and I go back to price, terms, and conditions.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, shouldn't you just come out and say, I feel we're the match?
Yes.
Maybe I could recommend.
Go to USA or Helen Williams.
Recommend someone, and
Yes.
she got right there for
I'm cool with that. What I'm not cool with, guys, is you thinking you're going to change people. Because we've tried that. How often? Yes.
I would just get a number, every house is a good house to get the right number. And just get a number you know would be a good number. If they can't live with that, you just say, hey, look, I really don't think I should be comfortable at the price you want to be at. I wish you luck and move on.
Because, guys, again, at the end of the day, it is your and your company's reputation in the front end. And I don't care how much they tell you, let's try it, it's okay, I know it's a lot. I don't care how much they tell you that. I've never met somebody on an airplane flying around that had an agent that I know did their job, but didn't get the right price, terms, and condition, that I didn't hear them complain about their agent. What do you do for a living? Oh, I'm doing this. What do you do? I'm training and consulting in real estate. What do you mean? Well, I teach people how to, they always go, so you teach the investment stuff, flipping houses? I go, no, I don't teach that. I actually teach real estate professionals how to sell. And if I sit next to someone who had a bad experience, I hear about it all the time. And we might think that they don't say bad things, but guys, I've heard their names, their brand, and I've heard them say very ugly things about agents. Now, I'm usually not very nice back, because when they're all done doing that, I go, so you're telling me your agent never gave you any advice that you didn't listen to? Like, what do you mean? I mean, like, your price was wrong. Well, I wasn't going to give it away. And right there, I know. No, you're an idiot, and you didn't. The mistake was the agent did what? Took the listing. And now that agent doesn't realize that this person is telling 30 people how bad they are. It's my reputation out there. I'm sorry I'll be unable to represent you, because it's actually my company, my reputation hanging in the front yard. I understand that you want to give it a try, but giving it a try means that I tell the marketplace I don't know how to sell houses. And I can't do that. Oh, well, we never say that. Yes, you would. 30,000 feet with Dan Elzer, you'll tell them. I disagree.
I had a situation this week. I used the takeaway clothes and just kept going. Because the house was terrible. And it's the state, and there's 3 siblings that can't get it together to figure out what to do to the house or do anything to the house. The price is ridiculous that they think the house is going to sell for. And they said the same thing to me. The sister said, well, we're just going to put it on the market like this. We're going to try it for 30 days and see. I said, you might find an agent to handle it that way, but it won't be me.
Thank you.
And I started closing books and stuff. I said, I just can't do it.
And you know what? If they were going to change, if they were going to change in 30 days, they'd change right then because you're a pro.
That's exactly.
And whenever they go, okay, bye, we'll find someone that will. Guys, no, they won't. I've had people sign documents, because we used to do that, have a signed price reduction in a listing agreement, to have the day of the signed reduction to go into the MLS, get the call from the seller going, I want to withdraw that, we're not reducing the price. I'm like, you signed, yeah, but do not reduce my price. And so there we were. We got, we went 30, 60 days, and now we're not going to reduce it. Now what are you going to do? I'd rather be the one yanking the sign out of the yard and everybody see me taking it than it die a slow death in the yard. Okay? Any questions? Feel free to edit. Do what you want to it, guys. But I think this. If I worked for Nothnagle, I would have a really pretty series of these things, which is the whole thing that used to be, that I took this from. I like some of this stuff because some of this is necessary in certain scenarios. For instance, this, the listing flow chart that you guys have here. Who would this be good for in a listing presentation? Analytical, right? Maybe amiable, that wants to see a plan. Who could care less about this? Drivers and socials. Okay? I think this is awesome, but not in a listing presentation. I think the pending should be part of your presentation to your seller when you put them under what? Contract. Now we're moving to the second phase of of getting your house sold. Let me take you through what you're about to experience. Boom. When I do it that way, it's fresh in their mind, they'll keep it, they know what's going on. When I did it 60, 90 days ago in a listing presentation, they didn't remember that. So some of this stuff is great, but I would have it as collateral material, keeping this down to about 11, 12 pages of meat, and then my questions, my agenda, and my changes. Look at the house, price, close. Questions? You guys, is that okay for you? You guys like that? Yes? No? You might like that? Yeah. So I will make that available as soon as we get down here. I'm going to put it on a thumb drive, take it back to Karen, give it to her, and they'll.
How long do you think something like that should take, including going through the house, say the house 2,000 square feet?
Let's say I have a social, amiable, middle of the road personalities, nothing too aggressive. I'm going to use all the slides, so I've just determined I'm going to use all those slides. I wouldn't be more than an hour at the house. No more than an hour. If I got a driver, I've been in and out of the driver's house in 30 minutes. But I've also had analyticals that I've been there for 2.5, 3 hours to get the deal. I got asked that yesterday, how long should it take? And I always go, it depends on the person. I want you guys to come in ready to take on whoever. Stop presenting to yourself, present to them, and you'll hit it out of the park every time. I say, like I said, it almost sounds like I'm making this up, but when you get really good at this presentation, it's hard to get people to not want you. Because you are so different than anybody else they saw. They're like, okay, what do we have to do? How do we do? You will get closed. Okay, where do we sign? And you'll be like, okay, first of all, as a SWAT, that should tell you, you missed the cue to close. Because if they're going, where do I sign? You are talking what? Too much. You know? That will be the difficult thing for you, is you will come across so differently than anyone else that people will want you to be their person. Now, again, if you are somebody that only works on referral base, friends, family, that type of customer base, you don't need that. But you should still use it. And here's why. When we go do it on our reputation or our relationship, here's what you don't know happens when you leave. They walk outside to their mailbox. They run into their neighbor. Their neighbor says, hey, you're with Nothnagle. Yeah, what are they doing? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Well, it's my wife's friend. I mean, we've always worked with them. So you don't know what's going on? Well, I mean, I'm sure they're doing a good job. And my neighbor starts to give me a hard time. But you don't know what's going on in the sale of your house. Now, let me prove that really happens. How many people in this room have ever had a friend or referral start to call you and give you advice on how you should sell the house? Don't you think we should do this? I mean, people got that call. Don't you think we should? Because they don't know what you're doing. So they're sitting at home going, they're just leaving it. So we better give them some ideas. When I had my mom, I would give that presentation. So when I'm done, and the neighbor says, what are they doing? Oh God, they've got this company overseas somewhere that's marketing me. They've got this, they've got that. She won't remember exactly everything, but she'll have something to say. When they don't have something to say, anxiety comes in. Anxiety then causes them to become more of a driver and start to tell you how to sell the house. Which means your phone rings more, which means your time gets taken up. Always, always, always do that. Yes?
I had an agent that, a really good, well-established agent that always gave a full presentation, and I asked her why. It was a strong referral, and repeat customer said, because they don't bother me in the first week or two.
I have a technical question. I've always used a notebook presentation, and I'm looking at some electronic presentation. How do you handle this mechanically, where on an iPad, you use it remote, you set up in front of, what kind of
Great question. I'm thinking this is an iPad, right? Okay, so we got an iPad here, and I'm sure it stands up somehow. So we got an iPad that can stand up. Maybe.
It's an old case.
There. It's not a technology class, but just from a technology standpoint, if you have an iPad will work with an iPhone using, what's the software for PowerPoint? Keynote, thank you. With Keynote. If I do Keynote on my phone, and I am error connected to this with Apple's connection, I can have the same PowerPoint on this that they see, but the one on mine has the notes. So I get the note view where I can put some bullets about the question I might want to ask or what I'm going to do. When I swipe it, all they see is the big picture, and it swipes. So you can set yourself up that way. If you don't have an iPad and you go with, I would recommend a Surface or something like that, because now you're running kind of a PC tablet, and then you can get this and plug it into the USB, and I can just click it, and it will go. So I don't have to put my hands anywhere near their viewing. The remote here or remote here, depending on Apple or a PC-based tablet. Now, I am also old school, and I'll tell you right now, people that know me, I have whatever my presentation is here, color printed in a black portfolio that you open up and there's clear pages that it's in. Because when I walk into someone's house, 3 things can cause me to go to the portfolio. One, as I walk in the house, all I see is 19-inch RCA color televisions. They don't even have a flat screen up yet. They're probably not high-tech people. Does that make sense? Second thing is, I could have a technical failure with my equipment. And then the third one, I just got, Anna Marie just hit me, girl I've trained many times in Tennessee. She hit me on Facebook and said, got to the house, iPad dead. Good thing I brought my book. That's what we call it when I teach the book. Good thing I brought my book, went old school, got the listing. So she walked into a house, iPad died, pulled out the book, continued the presentation that way. So having both methods, I think, is smart. But if you're going to get high tech with it, please, please, please practice. Because some people practice a couple times and then go out there, and then this is the worst thing you can do, people. Oh, hang on, this is supposed to work. I'm not sure what happened. Worst thing you can do in a presentation is explain how you don't know how your thing works. So get really, really good at it. Bring both, paper and electronic. And remember, in session 3, I told you, or 4, told you how to set things up. You don't want people on either side of you. You want them so you can see both of them and you can see your screen. Another thing people will do is put the screen like this and present. Click, click, click. You don't know what's happening over there. You want it where you can see it and they can see it. Because if it goes error or blows up or something, you will see it instead of them sitting there going, should we tell them it's not doing it anymore? Questions?
Another reason I always look for, even if I'm with a referral or even a personal friend, is that personal friend might feel obligated to interview me. But then after I go through everything, then they're like, cool, she really is a professional.
Bingo. They know you as a friend, now they'll know you as a pro. Makes it easier to do it.
I had this situation a couple days ago. I was in the house. I got an email. Hey, we're ready to go. It's someone I met at an open house like over a year ago. Showed them a couple houses. The guy lost his job. They were off the market. So now they're back, ready to go. The email was, we're ready. You do an open house Sunday.
Ooh.
Okay. Sure. You know, so I went over for sale by owner sign in the front yard. I went in and they were still ready. You know, they weren't trying to get information from me. But I really could have been in and out of there in 10 minutes. There was no need to close them. They were ready. But I wanted to go through and I said, look, I'm going to go through some of this stuff. I need to show you what's going to happen. So I wanted to set the expectation for them of how we're going to work and what's going to happen so that I have control from the beginning.
Yeah. And guys, that's exactly what the only thing I would change when someone's ready to go. I had a red one time, high driver personality. Never forget the man in a wheelchair. Come over to his house. I start to take out my presentation. He goes, "What are you doing?" Remember, that's how drivers are. "What are you doing?" I go, "I was going to share with you the marketing plan." He goes, "Why?" And I went, "So you're ready to go?" He goes, "That's why I called you here." I go, "Great." So I listed it. After I got his signature, I said, "Now you're going to watch my presentation." And he looked at me and goes, "Why?" And And I said, so I had to get driver with him. I said, because when I leave here and you don't know what's going on, you'll call and bother me. I said, so let me show you what I'm doing so you won't bother me. He goes, fair enough. But I got his what first? His signature. Then I told him he had to listen. But guys, again, you understand stuff other agents out there don't understand right now. You understand the dynamics of sales and the professional side of selling that others don't understand. Use this to your advantage, man. Go out there and take the market. I mean, that's what I want.
In your presentation, I didn't hear you say if you're comfortable with our $1 million marketing and myself, we were to move forward with
Yes.
the pricing.
I did not use the 2 trial closes in my example. Thank you. The trial close should have come at the end of the questions when the Nothnagle listing presentation, our marketing plan slide was up. I should have asked the trial close question. If you're comfortable with me, the marketing plan I'm about to share with you, is there any reason we couldn't get the house on the market tonight? They would either give me resistance or acceptance. Then I'd make the presentation. The second one was right before we looked at the home. So when preview the home comes up, I'm going to explain we're previewing the home. Then the second one, if I had resistance only. Hey, now that you've seen the marketing plan outside the price, we haven't looked at the home yet, would you be comfortable doing business with me? So those 2 trial closes must be there. Good catch. But the second one only comes if I got resistance on the first one. Okay? Cool. Okay, guys. Page 1, we take you through a couple pages here real quick. Certificate of completion.